So another lyric I just kind of want to mention that I don't know why I laugh at it every time I hear it. Yeah, on bussin', you say, "I got a little
Yeah.
shorty from up north, but she's built like a country
Like
bumpkin."
a country bumpkin.
What
I too thought that was hilarious. I just
do
thought
you
that
mean
shit was
by
funny.
like
I'm
what
not
did
gonna
you
lie.
like kind of mean by that? Was that like
I
purposely
mean, it's
supposed to be
just
funny?
yeah. I thought it was. I just thought it was funny, but also like like Southern women are thick as hell. Like they thick as hell. Southern women be thick, thick.
Different.
So I'm like.
You're watching Loud Music Only. I'm your host, AT Bianco, and today I am really excited to introduce our guest, who is a very talented artist out of the great city of Chicago. And in my opinion, he's one of the best storytellers in rap right now. His name is Femdot. Femdot, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
No, appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me. That was a cool intro. I like that. I like that. I like that.
Thanks, man. Thank you. So, I just like to start out interviews asking you like how you are. Like, how are you
Hmm.
doing? Are you having a busy day? Where are you at right now, like in life?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I'm super peaceful right now. Although I'm in the midst of like hella chaos. Good chaos though. It's like I'm about to go on tour in a week, so like I'm getting all the final parts together. But I'm good. I'm good. I'm relaxed. Just busy.
I want to get into your upbringing in Chicago, and how you started writing lyrics and making music, and what that journey's like been for you.
Yeah. So I grew up. I'm the youngest of four. So my oldest brother used to rap like in high school when he was in high school. Like he was super. And he got the whole family pretty much into rap music, really just music in general, but specifically rap music. And then like my sister like got me in R&B and all the other stuff. But that was kind of our connection. So I started writing very young because I was reading very young and reading and writing very young. So about like 6 years old, I started like writing. Uh, and then just obviously being in Chicago, like around the time, like you see Lupe, you see Ye, you know what I'm saying? I've been able to watch the Common, etc. Although like initially I was playing like super like Biggie Nas whole I'm Biggie Nas, you know what I'm saying, like Tribe stuff like that, and Wayne and Gucci Man. It was Chicago has a very very uncanny love for Gucci Man.
Really?
um yeah, we love Gucci, we do love WAP. We It's has a special place in my heart.
Shout out Guwap.
So shout out Guard, man. I remember I used to walk around like before he had got out recently. I was walking around with a big like Free Lil Flair shirt on.
Oh, that's
Um,
hard. That's hard.
yeah, so people be like, I'm doing all these. They'd be like, oh, you doing all these backpack boom bap raps? People would say, but I walk around with a big ass Gucci Man shirt on. Um, but yeah, so just and I'm first generation. I'm Nigerian. And like I'm very Muslim as well. So like I grew up in the mosque, like reading Arabic and stuff. Like so, I think like that was kind of like my initial like introduction to I guess how my melodies have started to form because I was like reading because Arabic is a super melodic language. But yeah, it was mostly just rap and R&B in my house, and then like a traditional Afro beats, which is like Fela Kuti and King Sunny Ade and stuff like that from like my parents. But yeah, and I was a school kid who was outside a lot, so I just had a lot to talk about. So you know,
Very cool. I like that. So you touched upon reading Arabic, right?
yeah.
When you were younger, and it kind of influenced your, love for melodies, if you will, right? So
Hmm.
I'm interested to hear about your creative process, like when you're recording or when you're writing. Um, would you say that like is your musical inspiration driven more by melody and harmony, or is it more like lyric driven when recording? Like walk me through that process. Like are you driven more by like when you hear this beautiful melody or come up with a melody, or is it more like you're writing lyrics before you kind of come up with that melody?
When it comes to credits, always the words first. Because that's just how I see the world. I just see the world in words. Like it's always the words. It's always like I like to make a complete thought. I actually really started getting into my melody bag maybe over the last couple of years. I feel like I've always been able to do it, but I think the idea of like finding new melodies or even just voice noting. I used to not voice note anything, like tweaking.
Yeah, those melodies
So
go away after a while too.
they leave you, they will vanish. They will, and my mama, them bitches will disappear. So yeah, I voice no melodies and stuff now, but it's always the words with me. Always say, what am I trying to say? What either what story am I trying to tell, or what feeling am I trying to convey? Um, but usually, like what happens most of the time, if I'm writing to a beat, then it's just whatever the beat tells me. Like the beat, whatever when I hear it, it tells me what I need to rap about. Like, okay, this is a canvas, right? But if I also can write to nothing. I write all the time. The paint dry. I'll write to anything. I have a natural metronome in my head. So if it's one of those, then I'm just kind of writing of whatever thought is until it's done and it's complete. And now if I hear a melody in my head and the melody sticks around, like, okay, this is hot. So let me put the words in that match the feeling of the melody. But it's always the words and how things are supposed to feel for me.
I always love to share this with an artist because when I first hear an artist that I just really love, it feels like it's like Christmas or something. It feels like it's your birthday, you waking up on your birthday because
Yeah,
it's exciting, you know. It's like, oh, where was
hmm
this guy when I was looking for new music, you know? So
exactly.
I first heard your music back in 2018. I like accidentally stumbled across like two videos you did
Yeah.
with Cole Bennett and Lyrical Lemonade. I
hmm
think it was like zero something and then
Yeah.
King Dilla freestyle, it
Yep.
must have
Yep.
been.
hmm
And it was in the very early days of Lyrical Lemonade and everything. And I'm sure you do a bunch of interviews and everyone asks about Cole. So I'm gonna be that
hmm
guy. What was it like working with him in the early days and how did you meet him?
I met Cole Bennett in class. Me and him had public speaking class his freshman year of college, my sophomore year of college, which is his only year of college. uh,
Because he only did like a
um,
semester or a year, right?
yeah, he did maybe a year. Yeah, because he was running. I used to watch Cole shoot. God knows how many videos in a week, like and edit, run and gun, have them out same week, like going crazy. So I've been kind of able to see that progression in lyrical lemonade wise from the beginning, which is cool. But yeah, we met in class. Like by the time I met him, I was starting to get a little name, for myself in the city, like locally, not really nothing crazy, but just enough for like if you're really tapped into the current scene, you would have seen my name before. And
Right.
Lyrical was still starting out. So when we both walked into class, I looked at him, he looked at me. I'm like Cole, he like Femdot. I'm like, yeah, he like, and we chopped it up and hit it off. And just got super cool. And I got cool with all the guys from there. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of how that happened. And then, obviously like the music kind of spoke for itself at that time, especially around that time, like the King Dilla freestyle. I think I was just rapping way more aggressive. uh, so that was cool. But yeah, that's kind of how that happened. I met him in class, and that's my brother now. Like that's my dog. Like I'll be just so happy for everything they doing. It's real beautiful to see for real.
That's great to see and just hear that story in general because you hear about his story and I was curious on how the universe introduced you
Yeah.
guys to each other and it's sometimes as simple as a chance meeting in class having the same public speaking class which is crazy to think about looking back on it and to see the trajectory of both of your careers and
Mm-hmm.
the fact that both of you guys show love no matter what. So thanks for sharing that.
No, no
That's
problem.
very, very interesting.
Yeah.
When you were like filming those videos with him, was it more like on the fly, like just, hey, I got this
I
idea,
think
this song?
so. I think we did a total of three videos. The first video we did was like it's called Body Bags, and that was like 2015, 2016, not 2016, I think. And like I shot that with him running gun. Like I think he was on the rooftop of like one of his like homie's house, like apartments at the time. And I shot it before I had to go to work. Like he hit me like, yo, let's shoot today. We shot today.
I love that.
And King Dilla freestyle was a little more planned out. It's like I think the coolest part was like with all the videos we did, he was growing, so the things got a bit more like structured. You know
Mm,
what I mean? So the King Dilla freestyle, we had a couple different locations. We still was a little run and gun, but it was a bit more like, all right, well, let's plan this and this and that. And then by the time we did Osum was like a small production. Like, we had like a place to shoot at, like a whole like we was like renting out this this venue to shoot at, and then like we had the whip, we had different scenes, different yeah, we had like different stuff. Like he had like a small crew at the time. It was it's like it was a bigger budget to us. You feel me? So yeah, so each time I was able to kind of see that grow because 2018 was when he started really making waves and lyrical was starting to really like become was start to see that glimpse of them like becoming this powerhouse that they are now. So it was just cool. So every time was like a bit more of a larger production for real.
Right.
I know I am smelling like dope.
94 Camry music. There's a difference between 94 Camry music and the musical like sonics of Not For Sale.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference, very good difference, very good evolution. So I want to kind of talk about 94 Camry music first, and then we'll get into your latest Not For Sale. I really dove into your discography after I listened to 94 Camry music as a whole, like a whole project. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to kind of pick your brain about the creation of that album and what your overall vision was for that one.
So 94 Camry music. So and a lot of my homies can attest to this. I've had all my projects up until my next one, my next album at least, planned out since 2014, 2015. So
Wow.
I've had them all like it's all like a sequence thing. So with 94 Camry music, um, it really was like supposed to kind of capture that um nostalgia of like summertime, but also like I was really driving a Camry. You feel me? I was really driving that Camry. I drove that Camry to those to the early, what I'm saying, Lyrical Lemonade videos. Like I really people know me in that car. So a lot of the moments of freedom, right? Of like growing of kind of when I felt the most free, felt like moments in that car. So I wanted to kind of one immortalize that car, but also those moments and like it started kind of the path of me looking towards like, okay, what does freedom look like and what does it feel like for me? Um, that's a conversation I was having on the album before and like the EPs before that I had on SoundCloud. Like it's all kind of just building to that point. So I kind of wanted to just tell, give people a glimpse of in the world I live in, and what has made me up to this point. Um, but I kept every time I kept thinking about it, it kept referring to moments kind of like in the summer and specifically in that car. So I'm like, yeah, we finna do that.
The word nostalgia pops out at me, like just
Yeah.
listening to you talk about it. And then I have written here 94 Camry music is an album that feels nostalgic, like from the get-go, like from the start, like from the first song,
Hmm.
I'm Broke, Parked Car Conversations. Like it's such a, I don't know, I feel like it's such a relatable story. Like I feel like I've been there.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
the way it's presented, it's almost in a spoken word style, which
Yeah.
I really like kind of like spoken word, poetic coffee shop kind of vibe.
Hmm.
But then also you have those skits of, the female love interest in it, kind of asking you questions and stuff like that. So talk about the inspiration behind that song, and did you pull that from a specific time in a specific
Oh, that's a
relationship?
real. Oh yeah, that's a real. Like those questions come from real park car conversations. That's a real. That's a real moment. Like I think that specific conversation. I think that specific um song came from like a couple times in the Camry. I remember one time my battery died when I was sitting like in the car talking to this girl. And we were talking for the longest, like in the front seat. Like these are real conversations, and real moments in time. And it's just like, all right, how do we set the tone, right? So like, how do we have the atmosphere? What type of questions are you asking and what speed? What's the tone? But yeah, no, that's I'm glad it feels relatable because I wanted to sound like a conversation because these are conversations I've had. You know what I mean? So
One of my favorite collabs of yours is Rap City with Smino.
yeah.
Big Smino fan, and hearing you two on a track, like you guys have like really good chemistry together.
Hmm.
Um, So when you guys made that track, was it something that you had sent to him, or were you in the studio together and you made it?
No, I mean we was in the studio, um, so Smino, although he is very much from St. Louis, he is St. Louis's child. He is also Chicago's adopted son. You feel me?
I
So
love that.
he
I love
came
that.
up. He came up through Classic Studios, just a big studio where like powerhouse at this point in Chicago. So I was just in Classic, and we were recording. The producer Ambi is also from St. Louis. So and me and her had a bunch of records together. So we were recording. He just got off tour with Earth Gang, like the day before or something. So he's back in town, and he's at the stew. So he's at the stew in the other room recording. And me and him at this point have known each other for some time. Like you see each other in passing, you speak. We have the same friends. Like we cool. We always talked about getting one in. So when I heard the beat, Ambi was playing the beat for me over FaceTime. I was actually driving on the way to the studio, and I was missing one song from 94 CM. All the rest of the songs are pretty much done. But I'm like, yo, something's missing. I needed to kind of feel like, you know, we're rapping back and forth. I'm missing a record that feels one good, but also like it's super rap heavy, and like has a different sound that can feel kind of like um we kicking it in the whip, rapping back and forth, right? So that's the song I'm literally missing. So when she plays the beat for me over FaceTime, I'm like, oh, this is it. Like I'm literally writing the verse over FaceTime while driving. Don't recommend. Definitely don't recommend. I was wild.
Talk about
But
multitasking.
yeah. It was crazy, crazy time. So I'm writing the verse while driving or whatever on the way to the studio. So by the time I get to the studio, my verse is pretty much done. And then like with the hook as well. But initially, just a little sidebar. Initially, the clips line, like I got clips on me, like I was grinding or whatever, was originally I keep it G and silence like I was Giannis, but then I had to change it because right when I finished recording it, Freddie Gibbs dropped a song called Giannis, and he has a similar line. So I'm like, I don't want people thinking I'm biting Freddie Gibbs. So that's where the clips line came from. Fun
Interesting.
fact.
Thank you for that
Yeah,
sidebar. I like
yeah,
sidebars in interviews. So
yeah.
the
So
more they show up, let me know.
that's a little sidebar. So that was interesting. But yeah, so I pull up, Smee there, we chop it up. I'm laying my stuff down. He kind of like writing while I'm sitting there. He's like, yo, I got something. Can I put it down? I'm like, nigga, what you mean? Can I put? Absolutely. What the fuck? And he come out and do that shit. I'm like, this is crazy. And at that moment, I'm like, oh yeah, I needed this. This is now my project's complete. This is what I was missing. So shout out to me, my boy.
Yeah, he gave it such a soulful, like a soulful but like funky feel to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
when the standout like word, when I listen to Smino, the way he says certain words like just stand out to me. Like the way
Yeah,
he said like Coachella in his verse,
yeah,
like the I don't know if it's like like a vocal run, but he's just like
yeah.
Coachella. Like it
He
was
just he
beautiful.
just does this thing. One, his voice is naturally melodic based on his accent.
Mm.
But he just does this thing. I don't know how to explain it. Like one, he's just extremely clever. He's like seeing him write because we like worked on other stuff too. But just seeing him write, like he's unnecessarily clever. It's crazy. And he also just talks clever, like casually. It's hilarious. But yeah, how he's able to manipulate his voice is really raw, and it's crazy too. Because on that record, his voice is a little raspy because he lost it on tour. So his voice is a little more raspy than it usually is. Because he did it right after the day back he got back. But yeah, no, he killed that. I was in there looking. I'm like, oh, you went crazy. He came out the booth. I'm like, you are a nut. You are a madman. Like your ass is insane. Like
Yeah, like what do you
so,
say
yeah.
to that? Like after he just, goes in there and blesses you with that
You just
feature.
come out at that point. You just walk out and shake hands, like, cause you like, damn, you know what I mean? Like this shit crazy. Cause he playing my verse back too, and he like catching lines and like he like you're nuts. I'm like you're nuts. Like this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's just a mutual. Like we look at each other as peers. You know what I'm saying? We came up in the same place. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a mutual respect for the pen, and that's really cool. So
I like that mutual respect for the pen. I like that a lot. That's
yeah,
something I want to hear
yeah,
more, just like in music in general, like that mutual respect for
mm-hmm.
each other. So
Yeah,
another peer that you're pretty close with, it looks like, of yours is Saba.
mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, you had went on tour with him.
Yep, yeah, yeah. Shout out to
So
Sab.
how did you meet Saba? I'm sure the Chicago music scene is very close knit. So I'm sure maybe you've had mutual friends or knew each other before. But how did you meet him, and how did you get the opportunity to go on tour with him, and what was that like?
I met Sab and pretty much most of Pivot Gang when I was still in high school. So we all grew up through these open mic scenes, like us, Chance, No Name, Mick, etc. So you end up seeing the same people, but I met them in high school. Like maybe I was like 15, and obviously over time we just got closer and cooler. With obviously Saab, but really all the Pivot Gang, like them the homies. So like my first headline show in Chicago, Joseph opened up for me, and when he brought out Saba, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like it's just a real communal thing, and I think for us at home, it's a big communal thing. So when tour came around, because actually it was supposed to be Luke at first, who was on tour with them. Luke
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, Luke from Dreamville was supposed to be on tour with them, but I think he had to drop out last minute, and so they hit me like, "Yo, you trying to hop on?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." Like I had to figure it out like 2 3 weeks before. You know what I'm saying? They had already announced with Luke and everything, so I kind of got added late. But that was a blessing too, and it was cool because I remember seeing them do open mics in rooms where they're 50, 100 people max, 25 people. You know what I'm saying? I've seen them perform at all spaces, so to like do these large rooms with them is super rock. But yeah, just it just happened to be that I was ready and available, and we was already locked in. So
How long was that tour, and was that your first time like on tour?
no, that was so that tour was a month and a half, damn near two. So we was gone. Really, actually, it's pretty much the same dates that I'm going for the Revenue tour. It's pretty much the exact same dates.
Oh, okay.
Kind of freaky.
Yeah.
But no, that's my second tour. So my first tour was with Toby Lou in 2019, right after we dropped 90 for Carry Music while I was on tour.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, with Toby Lou in 2019, we did US and Canada, and that was my first tour. And that was the same situation. Like that's just one of the homies who just like was like, "Hey, you trying to come on tour?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So
I was back on road, I came back home where all the real estate.
I want to get into talking about Not for Sale. And congrats on the success of that project. I know it was dropped in fall of 2021, right?
yeah,
And it's such an amazing body of work, and I really enjoy like every second of it when I listen to it. I feel like it's one of those albums where you hear something new every time you listen to it. Different sound textures in it really kind of speak to you. What are the themes of this album? Like, what was your vision and your purpose when making this? And like, was it therapeutic for you to make?
absolutely. It was like cathartic damn near. I think it was a lot. It's funny because most of it was done before pandemic. It's only two songs on there were made during the pandemic, and that was or made like during like in the midst of everything. Like Unleaded was made around the same time I made Lifetimes, like in that first week or so. Um, and then Moeen Pray Part Two was made like the first week of January in 2020. I came back from Nigeria. But yeah, Digits and Back on Roll were the only two songs that were made in 2021. Um, so it was crazy that I mean, Funds was made in like 2018.
Really? Oh,
Um,
that far back.
yeah. So Funds was made before 94 Carry Music because it's made by Hush, the same dude who produced 94 Carry Music produced Funds, but that song was made first. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was like I've always had the idea of kind of like what I wanted to go concept wise. And then, by January of 2020, the name kind of came to me. And that's kind of just where I felt I was at in life. Um, I'm like, okay, like how do I explain that and really kind of show like my relationship with like money, with people, with myself, with love and etc. And like how all that plays a part and like with like self-worth and who I am. And kind of came to the realization that you can't put a price on experience for sure.
I love the album cover too.
Yeah.
Who shot that, and like what was your vision on that? Because I don't know how you get that. Like, were you just like moving your head back and forth and you You
Yeah,
picked one that
yeah.
she shot?
Yeah, so it was shot by Octavius. It was talking about Adrian Octavius Walker, who's like a phenomenal photographer. He's from St. Louis. He's out in Chicago and stuff. I've worked with him on some projects, and I was really the first big one we did together. Um, and I knew I wanted a lot to focus on minimalism when I talk about the album, like with the promos, the rollouts, with a lot of the videos. Um, and kind of me being like as bare as possible, like because the idea of writers are like, you can't buy me, you can't. I don't need much if this is me, right? Um, so we did a bunch of photos. We had a bunch like a lookbook kind of ideas in terms of colors and stuff like that. And obviously, I'm in a pair of Jordan 4s because those are my staple shoe. Um, but for me, it was like when I got the photos back because obviously a whole bunch of photos, which ended up like some ended up being like obviously like in the booklet for like the vinyl and all this. We did a bunch of photos, but the reason why that stuck to me is because like I look very poised and positioned, right? Like I look very intentional. Each hand, like my hands are on my, on a specific spot. I'm not moving. One leg is like very intentional, but it's chaos up top.
Mm.
You feel me? Like you see my head move. I'm trying to feel. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that was like I feel like that was like a good representation of the conversation that was happening. Of like me, like okay, like I have all this together, but I'm trying to really figure out self worth right now. So yeah.
That was like the best explanation for like a vision behind an album cover. Like I love that, man. So
Yeah,
thank you for that. Oh, also
not a problem.
one of my favorite songs on this project is "Sacrilegious Pray" Part One.
Yeah.
That song is crazy. Like who made that like that beat, or was it two different beats from two different person? Like, well, how did that come to life? I want to hear about it.
So I originally wrote that song in 2017. Um, I think that might be the oldest song on the project. Wrote that in 2017, and I remember I'm getting to the end of the project. I'm missing two songs. I'm missing like two songs, and I'm like, and I go back to like my old freestyles and stuff. And I'm like, of course, I'm missing a song called Sacrilege. It's right here. Like it's literally right here. But I recorded it over like a beat I couldn't use. So I had to like remake it. And that is produced by my homie Charles Lost, who's done a lot of my beats. He's done Oh Something. He's also my DJ. So it's him, my engineer, Jabari Rayford, and my keyboard player, Fifth of Him. They have all done everything for that. And then the background vocals are Alex Bannon, who's on the intro. So it's all like one session. But yeah, we wanted to really build that out. So the second half, funny enough, is actually keys that were originally played on funds that I took and moved over. And we slowed it down, built it up, added more vocals, etc. Um, but yeah, that was a fun session. I had to redo those vocals because my engineer was like, because how I recorded it at first was like more conversational. My engineer's like, who I trust, I trust his creative opinion. Like he knows me probably better than anybody else when it comes to like musically. He's like, no, like we need to get more out of you for this. So let's do this again. Um, so yeah, Sacrilege, that was a fun time. That was a real fun session.
And you talk about some really like deep important things on this album as a whole, and
Hmm.
in this song, a lyric that stood out to me was, and correct me if I get this wrong, they've thrown contracts at me preying on the percentage.
Yeah.
You say that in Sacrilegious. um, Talk about that line and maybe how it relates to you learning and maneuvering the music business, if it does.
No, it does 100%. I mean, obviously, I was trying to play on the idea of praying and pray and whatever as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like my mom was praying for me to, get a big opportunity, big break. I think when I wrote this song was also around the time I first started right after I first started getting courted by labels, right? Like a couple years ago, and like seeing what's up with that, and it's cool. But people are like telling all these people that they want to have me work with, or and I don't get no fuck about none of that. I don't care who you know. I just need to know if you believe in me or not, right? Um, but then also like they'll throw numbers out, or album certain deals with certain number of albums or certain percentages, or even like people trying to manage me and stuff like that. Like they'll always have these things out, and I'm like y'all just throwing contracts, like um how much do y'all support me really? How much do y'all fuck with me really? And also like like y'all trying to take a large percentage or something, but I don't even know if y'all going to deliver on it. Or what
Mm,
is that out now? And if I'm seeing, or even like on the label side, if I see that y'all have this much value, or y'all think I have this much value, it's either two things. Either if y'all think I have this much value, it means I have like 10 times more of that value. Um, or I mean, like I just have more potential that I can reach. So I've been just trying to like, so when I wrote the song, I was definitely just like, all right, like these niggas is praying on me, like motherfuckers is praying, not in a good way, not praying for me, but praying on me. So
mhm.
um, all those kind of feelings was like bottled and happening at the same time for real.
Yeah, it's a very honest lyric that jumped out to me because of like kind of depicted like what you've experienced in the music industry so
Yeah.
far. And I loved how you like every song you put Alex Bannon, The Mind, and if I'm not there might be one more that I missed.
Oh, Goose.
Yes, Goose. That they were on almost pretty much every song, and what jumped out to me was The Mind, and I was like, where have I heard The Mind before? I've heard some of his songs,
Everywhere.
but like literally, yeah, literally everywhere. And so I remember when I first heard The Mind, and it was back in 2016 on a song, a G Herbo song called
Mm-hmm.
Remember on Ballin' Like
Remember,
I'm
yep.
Kobe the mixtape. And I
Mm-hmm.
heard that song, and he has such a distinct voice. How
Yep.
how involved was he in the making of this album, and like what did he do mostly as far as this like adding his voice texture to a lot of the songs?
With The Mind, we're like really like that's really my dog. Like we're really homies. So I was able. So when I was working on the project, and like I was able to play. He's one of the first people I played it for, and he was able to give me like a lot of like there's a lot of like insight on like what he took from it, which like helped a lot with like, okay, like I'm on this right path and how I'm doing things. And then when I went back to add two songs, I went back to add Digits and Back on Road. Digits especially, there's a part where the beat switches, where it switches three times, but the third time the beat switches where he comes in at, I initially wrote and sang over that. But I was writing like him, but I was trying to write like him, and
Okay.
I told him that I was literally writing like, because he has this way of being. He's very poetic and very like he writes in prose, like it's super fire. So I'm writing, and I'm like, wait, why am I writing like him when I know him? You know what I'm saying? Like, why
Yeah.
am I writing like him when I know him? So I just hit him like, yo, can you just do what you do? Because I'm trying to do what you're doing, but you can just do it. So, um, yeah, so he just did that. So he got on that, yeah, bet. So he heard the shit, and I didn't have to give him any direction. He heard it, like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And just completely wrote a whole different part that fit. And for Back on Road, it was kind of similar where it was like, I'm like, yo, my manager too was like, yo, like, I think he'll sound dope on this. I'm like, I think he'll sound dope too. I said it to him, and that's what he sent back. I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. I don't gotta direct you. Just do what you be doing. And kind of go from there. So that was cool.
Yeah, what he did, what both of you guys did on Back on Road, that's another song that like I feel like I need to hear that song like synced in a movie and in some
Yeah.
scene or something, because it's
No,
just
same.
it's one of those songs that it's it's got like an anthem feel to it.
Yeah.
And I like one of your lines in it specifically, and I think you say, I have it written down right here, you say, whatever love we get, it's just past due.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you were writing that verse, did you kind of have in mind like maybe like like I'm trying to talk my shit, like, you know, like that kind of vibe, like kind of thinking about maybe the people that overlooked you in your career, that kind of thing?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely like like that was a song that kind of flexed my little ability real quick. Well, obviously still like referencing stuff and talking about, but like that was, especially 'cause that was the first song. That was the first song I wrote in 2021 of that year. And um I'm like, oh yeah, like I done been through some shit this year. Like, so whatever is coming this way, like I'm supposed to get, you know. And that's okay with me. Like, this is who I am.
And another lyric I just kind of want to mention that I don't know why I laugh at it every time I hear it. Yeah, on Bussin', you say, "I got a little
Yeah.
shorty from up north, but she's built like a country
Like
bumpkin."
a country bumpkin. I too thought that was hilarious. I just
What do
thought
you
that
mean
shit was
by,
funny.
like,
I'm
what
not
did
gonna
you
lie.
like kind of mean by that? Was that like
I
purposely
mean, it's
supposed to be
just
funny?
yeah, I thought it was I just thought it was funny, but also like, like Southern women are thick as hell. Okay, thick as hell. Southern women be thick, thick.
Different.
So I'm like, they be built different, you feel me? So it's like, yeah, this shorty from up north, but she thick though, for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about your latest single, Pelly Pelly, and I see you have Sango on there too as well.
Yeah,
um Talk about like the vision behind that song, what it's about, and what it was like making it. And I love the video for it too as well. There's just
nah,
like
thank you.
infinite femdots showing up,
Yeah,
which I love.
yeah.
So just talk about how you brought that all together, even the video.
Yeah, no, Pelly Pelly was cool. Pelly Pelly was probably the first song in the pandemic, like in like 2021 that I made that felt fun. Like, so me and Sango, I think Sango probably found me maybe right before Not For Sale, but after that, like, so he like we became cool on IG and he like hit me up and like that was and Pelly Pelly was the first song he sent over. He sent like two or three records over. And he like literally, I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, I'm like, yo, it's good to meet you, bro. I've been playing your shit for forever. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, oh yeah, you dope, whatever. Sends beats immediately,
Wow.
gets to it. I'm like, I ain't no bitch. Like, hold on, I'm finna send some shit back. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I sent back Pelly Pelly. It felt fun. And I feel like yeah, like different elements that I feel like now I've been able to perfect that I can like easily tap into to like work on the record. So we was able to get that done in like a couple hours. Like I think I did like send him like he sent me a record. I sent him like two records back in like 3 hours. He's like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, like keep up. Um, so yeah, so I was sitting on that for a minute, and then I'm like, oh, like this would be cool to drop. Like, it's definitely be something to like really um get going. And from there, uh, when it was time to like, I feel like it was a good like welcome back joint to kind of like. I mean, obviously we had a couple records like Modern Olympus, Senegalese and stuff. But as we work on like these next projects, and I'm gearing up for the album and stuff like that. So I'm like, yo, like Pelly got a ride for sure. So we was able to put that together. And then video wise, my homie Josh, who shot the video, I met him on tour. He was doing all of Sab's like tour recaps and stuff. And he's super dope, super cool dude, LA based. And we've been trying to work for a minute. So I'm like, yo, I got a song for you. I want you to shoot. So he really helped me kind of bring that to life. I had kind of like usually I'm usually like really involved in the process of like storyboarding and like creating for like visuals and stuff. So I had a brief idea and he just took it like more or less like over the two different halves and stuff like that, and like kind of like quick shots and kind of how I wanted stuff to look. But in terms of like the multiple me's and like the certain switches and like the lights on my grills and shit like that, that's all him. Like I trust his vision. I was like, bro, let's see what you want to do for it. That make it because I told him how I wanted to feel, and that's he able to execute on his end, and it was really cool. So I'm really happy with the video. I'm really happy with the song. I'm just glad it's out. I'm glad people rocking with it.
Lastly, I want to talk about where you are right now, before you go on tour, but also just like what you've been up to, working wise, like working on new music. What are some goals for you in 2023? Talk about, where you're at in that creative process.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're expanding, bro. We're dropping more music. I'm dropping an EP later this, dropping a couple, but definitely dropping the EP later this year. So getting ready for that. Working on the album. So getting ready for that. You know, trying to get that together. 'Cause that's gonna be real special to me. Especially because I've technically been hinting to this album for the past like 5 years. So it's like Easter eggs and like every cover art and like in songs and stuff like that. Um, so very looking forward to that. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I've been on. Other than that, just getting ready for tour. I really want to do just expand, do a couple of dates, do a couple of headlines of just myself. Um, But yeah, just this is the year of expansion and growing, and kind of like just making another step. So I'm really looking forward to what's about to happen next. But it's gonna be a lot of growth for sure, and a lot of music. So I'm excited to like drop a lot of music.
I'm looking forward to that. And as far as like a next project, whether it's EP or album, you said before that you have a lot of that already planned years in advance. So you already have a
Hmm.
name and a cover idea for a lot of that stuff.
Oh, for sure. So like yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, all of my last projects kind of play into each other. Um, They all have been for a very long since the SoundCloud projects on 2016. They all play into really this next album, and this next album is like um, the end of a sequence, and then I'm gonna start a new one. Um, but yeah, so I'm very excited for that, and then, like I'm working on a bunch of EPs that also tie into this album. Um, so yeah, everything is kind of I like dropping Easter eggs everywhere.
Well, I'll definitely keep an eye out for all those Easter eggs. And everyone
Yeah,
watching at home, be sure to check out Femdot and keep an eye out for his Easter eggs for his up and coming EPs and projects too as well. And I just want to end with, thank you for your time today and speaking. It's been
um,
very interesting and fascinating, not only as a music listener, but as a fan of your music and you as well. I'm even more of a fan of you now after talking to you. So thank you. I
no,
really
I appreciate
appreciate your
that.
time, man.
No, I appreciate you, AT. Thank you, man. This is cool.
Everyone watching at home, you're watching Loud Music Only. I'm your host, AT Bianco, and this has been our interview with Femdot. Thanks for watching.